Hello YouTube, Simon here, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be explaining to you the 6 new features that have been made available to us in the latest Final Fantasy III update. So yes, after 6 years since the last update, Square have decided to give us another. And there's going to be some differences between the Steam version and the iOS and Android versions, but I'll try and mention those as we go. So the first change is actually accessed outside of the game. If you right click on it in your Steam library and go to language, you can see, or you probably won't notice this from any of you, but some of you might notice, there are now new languages available to select from. So for all versions of the remake that has received the update, you can now access Thai and Japanese languages. And for the Steam version, you can also access simplified or traditional Chinese. Now, if we go into the game itself, I'll be able to explain the further set of changes as part of the update for you. The one thing I'm not going to be able to demonstrate, the one change, is the fact that for the Steam version, there's been an option added so that you can play in 21:9 aspect resolution. So if you have a monitor with native support for that resolution, for that aspect ratio, then that's going to be a pretty cool change. I don't, so I can't show it to you. Incidentally, if you're playing the DS version, you won't get that change, of course. Not the DS version, sorry, the iOS or Android version. You won't get that change, but what you will get is the game will now play the opening movie and the full soundtrack throughout the game. Before, it didn't do that. So it's a little bit more complete now, which is a nice bonus. Right, so the next feature is a new gallery mode. And this is going to include illustrations, which will be art from 2006 onwards for the remake. So there won't be any art for the original Final Fantasy III, which I guess would have been nice, but let's not complain. But there's tons of art here for the remake itself, which you can look at your leisure. And then you've got the music player, which has all of the tracks from the soundtrack, all of the BGM files, and I believe there's 50 odd. Yeah, 59 in total, which you can select from. Yep, and listen to them at your leisure. Right then, so we're going to have to actually load a game at this point to explain the next set of changes. And the next major change is a brand new interface. Now, previously on the Steam version, there was 2 columns of menu items here, which was pretty much because the Steam version was just a bad port of the mobile version of the game. That's now been fixed, and those 2 columns, which was really made for touchscreen, have been condensed down into this single column. Unfortunately, as you can see, it's a little bit buggy at the moment with text overlapping the borders, and that's a bit of an annoying bug because it kind of is consistent like that throughout all dialogue boxes. If we go into chat here, you can see that most of these text lines are going past the borders, which is just really infuriating. But I'm sure this bug will be fixed in due course. Let's just hope it doesn't take too long to do that. And the interface changes aren't just for the menu either. They also extend to battle. Everything's just been shrunk down a little bit, so it's obviously not so much a mobile interface anymore. It is more of a PC interface. And talking about battle, if we go ahead and enter battle, I'll be able to show you the next 2 features, which are also going to really help you on your way. And they are auto battle and turbo speed. Now, I did actually look around using the controller and the keyboard to try and figure out how to enable turbo speed, and I just couldn't figure it out until it eventually clicked. Turbo speed isn't like turbo speed from the other Final Fantasy remasters that have turbo speed. It's a feature that is tied to the auto battle system. So when you have auto battle enabled, turbo speed is enabled by default. And when auto battle is disabled, turbo speed is disabled. So they're linked together. You cannot have turbo speed or auto battle active unless they're both active together, if that makes sense. Now, talking about auto battle, this actually works a little bit differently to how auto battle works in Final Fantasy IX, for example, because rather than just having your party members do successive physical attacks, it will actually repeat the last action that party member took. So what you can do is set up a battle pattern, and then when you enable auto battle, that pattern will continue so long as A, you don't change that pattern to something else, and B, if you're using abilities that cost MP, you have the MP to use those abilities. If you do not have the MP, then auto battle will at that point resort to using a physical attack. So let's go ahead here and select a routine with Lunath will attack, probably for 0 damage, but it's just an example. Let's use Thunder with Arc. Oh, a little unannounced change, but one thing I noticed. which wasn't present before, and I checked this on my previous YouTube videos, so I know it's a new thing, is that once you select a magical ability in battle, you get a little interface option pointing out to you that you can hit a button to make that spell area of effect. Now, you could do that before, that hasn't changed, but the actual prompt on screen telling you that you can do that, that is new. So let's go ahead and select the area of effect version of Thunder here. And Refia will do the same with Cure. And then Ingus, he can just go ahead and retaliate. So we'll go through this battle just as normal here. And this will be the normal speed, so this isn't the turbo speed because auto battle isn't enabled. And okay, there we have it. The battle is over with. So what we're going to do now is head into battle again, and this time we're going to enable auto battle. And what should happen is that first of all, the battle speed will be increased by a factor of 2, and it will repeat, the game will for us, the actions we just selected. So let's turn that on. As you can see, the speed is increased, but of course we don't get to experience the fact that the game wants to... Oh, there we go, we got Retaliate off. Okay, we do. We get to see auto battle here since that enemy didn't die. Alright then guys, so that's going to be a great time saving feature, especially for those of you that are going to be grinding heavily in this game. And it's a Final Fantasy game, so yeah, grinding's part and parcel of it, especially this one actually. If you don't grind, I've noticed in later Final Fantasy games, grinding is sort of optional. But in these earlier titles, if you don't grind, you're gonna die. Yeah, it's more obligatory. But there we have it then, folks. So that's all of the changes that I know of anyway in the Final Fantasy 3 update. Again, I mentioned this in my last video. It is interesting that Square have decided to update the game at this time. Hopefully, you know, we might see this pattern continuing. Final Fantasy 4 could be next, and we could get some features added into the Steam and iOS versions of that game as well. But yeah, let me know in the comment section what you think about the fact that Square have decided to patch this game, which is 15 years old now, hasn't had an update for 6 years. And if you want more Final Fantasy news, updates, and tip videos, guides, etc., make sure you stay tuned to the channel. Got lots planned for you, especially with the remake on the horizon. But thanks for stopping by. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.